Imagine pollution being so bad that you literally cannot look up at the sky and see anything. If you'd like to see clear blue skies, you're out of luck, and your only chance of it is by looking at giant LED screens displaying pictures of them instead. It sounds insane, but many Chinese citizens have actually experienced this. It was at this point where China's air quality became famous worldwide for just how bad it truly is. Now, of course, this was back in 2014, and many years have gone by since then, but this is without a doubt still a problem, despite China's best efforts. In 2019, China's pollution was so bad that it was even blocking the sunlight from solar panels. The desire to present an environmentally friendly image while at the same time struggling to control the country's air pollution has been a common theme for China, and as its capital, of course, Beijing is often at the center of it. Just recently, when the Chinese Communist Party marked its 100-year anniversary, the government showed just how far it was willing to go to portray Beijing as a clean city. A celebration was held on July 1st, 2021, and in the days leading up to the event, the government ordered factories to close and other polluting activities to halt. When this wasn't enough, the government launched a massive cloud seeding operation on June 30th, launching rockets filled with silver iodide into the sky. The idea behind this was that the silver iodide would accumulate in clouds, stimulating rainfall and increasing the chance that it rains, which in turn would help lower the pollution in the air. And their plans seemed to have worked. Researchers found that the air levels of PM 2.5 particles, which are small particles that are a major pollutant, carrying with them toxic substances and bacteria, dropped by more than 2/3 for the event. This caused the air quality index reading to move from moderate to good, according to the World Health Organization, or WHO, standards, posing little to no risk during the event. So, how well does the image China projects match up with the reality on the ground? Well, in China's most high-profile city, Beijing, real progress has been made. But to truly understand Beijing's progress and how it relates to China's pollution journey, we have to explore a little about how bad the air in Beijing was in the first place and how it got that bad. The roaring economic growth that has propelled China to great power status on the world stage has been primarily fueled by coal. In fact, China consumes more coal than the rest of the world combined, accounting for 54.3% of the world's coal consumption. Beijing was a major center of this growth, with its GDP having grown 1,078% in 2017 compared with 20 years earlier. However, the very coal that powered this growth also led to major air quality problems in the capital city, made worse by the fact that, in that same time frame, the city's population increased 74% and the number of vehicles on Beijing's roads increased by 335%, adding to the already poor air quality. So just how bad was Beijing's air? In 2016, smog got so bad in Beijing that the government issued a red alert, the highest level in a 4-tier warning system introduced as part of China's high-profile war on pollution. What this meant for the everyday citizens of Beijing was that schools, businesses, industrial plants, and construction sites were all closed, as the government advised citizens to remain indoors to protect themselves from the terrible air quality. Some even fled to the countryside, which was noticeably better. The few people who did venture outside wore masks, and it became common for Beijing households to own more than one air purifier to combat the smog. Half of the cars on Beijing's roads were also ordered off the road, with an odd-even number plate system in force, meaning only license plates ending in an even number were allowed to drive on one day, with odd-numbered license plates being allowed on the road the next day. This system was successful and is even still used today sometimes. But to put some numbers on it, the World Health Organization recommends PM 2.5 particles be kept below 5 micrograms per cubic meter, as these dangerous particles are breathed in through the air and accumulate in people's lungs, causing a number of health problems. In 2016, the annual average level for Beijing was 71 micrograms per cubic meter, meaning it was an insane 14 times the WHO's recommended average. But this doesn't even tell the whole story. During winter months, when the residents of Beijing turned on their coal-powered heating systems, PM 2.5 levels commonly approached 500 micrograms per cubic meter, more than 100 times the recommended levels, and a concentration deemed hazardous by WHO standards, meaning the population was severe enough to trigger emergency conditions and likely to affect the entire population. This has had real consequences for public health. A study from Health Effect shows that unhealthy PM 2.5 levels caused 1.42 million premature deaths in 2019, as these small particles enter people's bloodstream via the respiratory system and cause asthma, lung disease, heart disease, and cancer. the same study showed an additional 363,000 deaths from household air pollution from burning fossil fuels. This situation caused a public outcry in Beijing and prompted the government to take action. In response, the Chinese government announced its 3-year action plan for winning the Blue Sky War. This entailed 6 key points. 1. Control pollution from industries and promote green industrial development. 2. Control coal burning and promote carbon-efficient heating systems. 3. Control emissions from vehicles. 4. An aggressive reforestation program to offset carbon emission by planting more trees. 5. Reduce pollutants. And 6. Strengthen regional cooperation. To put this plan into action, Beijing transitioned from coal-burning heating systems to cleaner-burning natural gas. They also put stricter emissions requirements on vehicles, in addition to implementing the odd-even rule. Additionally, they have required high-polluting industries, such as iron and steel manufacturers, to install emissions-controlling equipment. They have also relocated heavy industries, which has helped the air quality in Beijing, though not so much in the rest of the country, as they have to host these harmful factories. So, what does Beijing have to show for these unprecedented efforts? Well, in 2021, Beijing's annual average PM2.5 levels were 33 micrograms per cubic meter, half of what they had been 5 years earlier. Though there were flare-ups at times, this annual average met the Chinese government's goal of 35 micrograms per cubic meter for the first time, making it a success. Despite this though, these levels remain more than 6 times the levels recommended by the World Health Organization. Yet the success of Beijing has not translated to the rest of the country. In fact, China has the 11th worst air pollution in the world out of 106 ranked countries. The average air quality index in the country is 98, which puts it right on the upper limits of moderate according to WHO standards, since at 100 it would be considered unhealthy for sensitive groups, meaning that children, the elderly, people with lung diseases, and those with heart diseases would be at risk. This is just an average. Across the country, air quality levels regularly move into the hazardous range, especially in pollution hotspots like Hotan in Xinjiang or Anyang in Henan. In 2007, it was estimated that out of the 560 million Chinese city dwellers, only 1% breathed air deemed to be safe by the European Union. Yet despite these issues, China ramped up coal production in 2021 following a nationwide power crunch that disrupted industrial operations. Since coal is key to China's ability to remain a powerhouse country, they definitely have a dangerous addiction to this harmful resource. China's coal production hit record highs in 2021, with December being the peak of it, meaning coal production is still growing month by month. Of course, this also increases carbon emissions in a country that has the distinction of being the world's largest polluter by far, being responsible for 28% of global CO2 emissions. So, now what? Well, China has agreed to peak its carbon emissions by 2030 and says they plan to be carbon neutral by 2060. So even if they keep these pledges, that still means another 8 years of increasing emissions in a country that already has massive air quality problems. And this is China we're talking about. So who knows how truthful they're being. Even as they've pledged to peak carbon emissions, China continues to build coal plants at a rate that outpaces the rest of the world combined. As China continues to ramp up coal production and consumption, we can only expect these numbers to continue to grow until China hopefully fulfills its commitments to peak fossil fuel usage and begin to take concrete actions towards carbon neutrality. Hopefully sometime in the future, clear blue skies will return to China and the giant LED screens will be no more.